So welcome from left to right, Bilim Atli-Veltin from TNO, Yolanda van Dinther from Thermo Fisher, Zijm from NXP, Natasa, Jovanovic from TomTom, and Moyra Manus from ASML. Give them a warm applause. Yeah. So how does it feel to be here, Bilim?
Oh, it's just great, the energy. I can feel it from the corner of the room. And I should applaud you, definitely. You are just great. And I can see the spark in your eyes. And thank you, too. You are amazing ladies to put this all together. And just like Nelly said, you are ambassadors. And make sure that you take this message and particularly talk with your male colleagues. But make it a win-win negotiation. What is in it for them? Why should there be more female? So, yeah.
Let's start the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, Yolanda, let's start with you. So, you became a manager in 2001 of 20 men.
Yeah, I did, yes.
How was that?
Well, it started actually a little bit accidentally because I was actually going on a job interview for a software architecture role. A tech role, and then the manager who was interviewing, he said, well, wouldn't you be fit also to lead the team? I said, like, okay. Are you sure? So it happened a little bit to me in a way that I said, well, I had a good relationship with the boss, and he said, well, I'll be your coach and we'll get this done. And actually, sort of like, it was a little bit so like, wow, 20 men, how am I going to do this? And most of them also a little bit older than I was in that time. So yes, the boss really gave me the boost, so I'm still very grateful for what he did for me.
Yeah, that's great of your boss. So how did you experience leading 20 men?
They are just, well, I had a very nice, nerdy team, so it was all good. And I'm a nerd myself, so that works. So in the end, it was just me who was feeling inconfident about it, but it was the men who really gave me all the support. So
they gave you confidence?
They did, yes.
Oh,
it really helped.
So, did you have a role model growing up?
Yeah, that was a nice question you asked it before. I didn't really have a role model. But there was one thing that reminded me when I was, a few years later, I was working in Philips. I was joining the women's network over there, the Winergy team. Still a few ladies in the room here today, okay. So that's awesome too. We went to Amsterdam, to headquarters of Philips, and then we were invited there. And once we were invited there, and there was a team like, well, I think like 8 VP ladies, senior VP, whatever, really high in the top. And there was one lady, she was a Dutch lady, who made it really from well, starting like me in a role like that. And she was my role model, and that Itelka Ubbens, if you know her. She's still in Philips doing a senior VP role. And,
so now you are also helping younger girls, so you're a role model yourself now. How does it feel to be a role model now yourself?
Exciting, and also I love to do it. I'm really an ambassador for this. I have been, I still am, a volunteer for the VHTO. It's a Dutch organization, and they organize speed dating in the secondary school. So like girls in the age of 15, and you go to the school and then you have a nice conversation with them. About what your job is all about. Yeah, that's exciting because you can really start from the basis to help those ladies, those little ladies, to become techies too.
And what do they tell you?
They tell me, well, actually they tell me there is always a bit of a quiz moment in that kind of situations. And in the quiz, what they say is they sort of like, there's a multiple choice, like, what is it like to be in a tech profession? And then there is these multiple choice question. And then there's always this weird answer that says, being in a tech profession is really like doing a dirty kind of job, and it's boring. And like, so many hands go up. They do it in the beginning, of course. So after the speed date, they know better.
That's good. So, Moyra, when we think about younger girls, what can we learn them? How can we help them?
I find that because I worked in the US mainly, there's no no notion that it wouldn't be a job to like. The only problem they have in the US is that the teams, the male-dominated teams, come across as too cold for them, or too, you know, it's just not that environment. Whereas in the Netherlands, people just kind of, as we were talking earlier, they would like to work part-time. So I find there, just helping people understand that you can do a full-time job if you have help, and you can do that job for a long time, as Nelly was saying earlier. So with my girls, I help them to understand what it's like to be on a male team. You know, how much fun it can be also. And how really cool it is the first time you get a job, when you look around, you're like, whoa, I'm the only woman again. It usually is. But the first time it happened, I had 23 women. And I have to admit, I was a lot more scared about that than I was about the 20 guys. It comes back to, you know, if they're geeks like you, they're easier to lead. These women were amazing women in the banking industry, and I was floored. How do you do that? I wasn't a banker. I didn't understand them. That was harder. So just getting girls used to those cultural things also, the finer things, and helping them understand how to get their point across is very helpful.
So, Bilim, why is it so important to stimulate girls to select studies in the fields of STEM, right?
Yeah. So it's a really good question. And so there are many reasons, actually. But for me, the most important is why not? Because if you look at the studies, the students, and their success at high school, you see that girls are doing better at science and mathematics than boys. But yet, it's not reflected in the university. Those girls are not selecting STEM field, not science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So something is happening there, and I believe it is about the gender biases and stereotyping, also lack of information about the job itself. So my background is in aerospace engineering. I studied helicopter crash worthiness, and now at my work at TNO, I can actually control. For example, just a fun example, I can lift the 9 tons, 3 meters in the air, and I can crash it onto the structure, and people pay me for that. So
great job.
Yeah.
Are you still hiring? Or?
We are hiring. So
someone's looking for a job. But
So just come talk to me afterwards. And why STEM particularly is important. We want diverse teams, so because we know that diverse teams bring the creativity. So we definitely need that creativity in the STEM field. So those fields, the scientists, the mathematicians will solve the global issues. We need those for the climate change, for the pollution, for the hunger. So that's definitely a must. It's not just nice thing to do, it's a necessity.
Yeah, it's not only male and female, right? It's also different nationalities, different backgrounds.
Definitely. So that's also, we have a diversity team at TNO that's looking at all the aspects of diversity, not only gender, but race, nationality. So yeah, you are going to bring this information to your executive board, and they will say, this is all nice, but then bring me the numbers. So you can tell them that in the last crisis, the economic crisis, the companies with the most diverse team made the best. So they were actually cleared out of the crisis. You can say, this is definitely a win for you.
Yeah.
So I promote, well, you are already a couple steps ahead. We are mostly in the high-tech companies, so you made that choice. And you say, yes, maybe you are not managers yet. You can say, I'm not ambassador yet, but you are. You can talk to these 5 years old, 10 years old, and bring that message that science is just fun. And believe me, I don't need very strong arms to put this 9 ton in the air. I just push a button. So, and when you go in a room, that's really nice. When you go to a meeting, so of course you accompanied with a lot of men, and then they ask you, so what is your background? And you say, I'm a rocket scientist. Yeah. and
really awesome.
You get enough credentials for the rest of the meeting, I assure you that. So yeah, definitely fun.
Natasha, how do you look at this?
So I would say, indeed, so having more women in tech is hellishly important. That's what we know, and diversity is really a key for success. It brings innovation, brings different way of thinking, definitely. And we need more women in the room, but I don't think we can achieve it without men. So,
no, because I saw one of your talks earlier and at other events, and you keep on saying, we need men on board.
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
But if we look at all diversity initiatives that are happening out there, usually they're outsourced to women. Like, we talk about women role models, we talk about women mentoring other women, we talk about what we should tell to our little girls. But it's equally important, and I think it's crucial, to get men on board, to work together with men to make a significant change in the long run. And I think we, as the women, can play an important role in bringing men along.
How can we do this?
So I'm very passionate about this topic, and I decided, okay, I want to research it, and the first thing I did, I started talking to men. So really interviewing men to understand what's their point of view. And what I realized there is that, of course, there are men that are okay as it is, and they don't see a difference. They value it, but don't want to play an important role. But there are men who want to become male allies at work. But they need our help to basically share our stories, share our experiences, share scientific data, everything we know, to increase their understanding, but also increase efficiency of their promotion.
We need to do it together, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just by sharing my stories, it really helped those men that I interviewed, starting from I don't know what to do to more concrete ideas, like, I can become a male ambassador, I can share also female stories, or understand how basically female colleagues react to certain situations, and I can help correct gender biases at work, and I think that's important.
Lisa, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. What we were talking about before we started this panel was how are we engaging in the future, and you were asking me before you prepared us with some questions, and you're asking me how is that in technology and how do we engage in the future, because that's where we start, right? That's where we can make our mark. And I really feel it's that discussion about the strategy, how we make it, and how we use emerging technologies in the strategy. I think that's where women can play a big role.
Yeah, it's funny you say it. You studied philosophy and strategic management, so you have a different vision on technology. So when we look at new technologies, do you see differences between men and women when we look at, do we jump on new emerging technologies or do we wait for it? Do you see a difference between men and women?
I think I do. Of course, I still have to see a lot of examples, but I feel being engaged in a strategic discussion about emerging technologies does not mean shouting, hey, this is new, let's go there. And I think by not doing that, women can really add value, because I feel they come prepared to the discussion, right? They know the background, but they know where the future is going, and I don't know, maybe sometimes they have a better overview and they can think a bit more, and that's so important, I feel, in strategic discussions. And
Yolanda, what do you think of this?
I think indeed we take a different perspective, that's clear. And I think, like Carmen already showed this morning, I love the overview. We always take a different perspective. We might sometimes bluff our way through just like the guys do. That is a little bit sort of like, we're always so well prepared. At least I'm not the only one, I see it with all our ladies.
Is that a female habit?
Could be.
Could be. So, Moyra, you also are a very pro to the diverse teams and working in diverse teams. Could you tell us why?
Actually, if you don't mind me taking your question and bringing it back to the point, I have a feeling, because I have been in the semiconductor industry for about 20 years, that if, as women and as women leaders, as technical leaders, we don't start to embrace some of the changes in technology, we will not be in the discussion from the beginning. And I think that, Nelly Cruz has gone a long way to making sure that Europe is part of that discussion. I would really be very disappointed if women in this country, in particular, even Western Europe, were not part of the discussion on artificial intelligence. Because if we're not there, making the decisions from a strategic perspective, from a philosophical impact to society perspective, we will lose out. And all of these lovely ladies will not have fantastic jobs also. I believe that the diversity of thought in those decisions is very important. If whether you're building a rocket, my son is studying rocket science, I'm a physicist. I have noticed on all the teams that I've worked for that if you have the diversity of skills and nationalities, languages, gender, all of that does come to a better solution. We are simply more creative and more innovative with that combination of people. And I really want to make sure that we don't, women don't get left behind in future technologies. That would be very disappointing.
So, but how do we make sure we don't get left behind?
It's, as Nelly said this morning, she said you raise your finger, I'm American, you raise your hand, your arm, you raise your body, you stand up, you move into the room.
Yes.
Get onto the stage and stay on the stage. Yeah, make sure that you're part of all those discussions at every single different level. We should be there.
But how do we make it concrete? Are role models enough?
Role models are a start, but I think that, I too was against quotas at the beginning of my career, and I have to say, maybe it's a thing of age. As I get older, I realize that it will take 200 years, as she said, if we don't start imposing some quota. It has also been determined by companies like Intel that about 1/3 of the population has to be diverse in order to change the way things are. So I would like, in the Netherlands and in our company, we're striving towards, I work for ASML, we're striving towards a greater representation of minorities, especially in this case, women, and hoping that that will help change those discussions. But the women have to take a stand also. You have to work on projects that you find difficult. You have to get your confidence into hand and take the leap, and that does make it. So it's by individuals that you end up making a change.
And I wonder if also where we started talking about if education can play a big role, right? If you're engaged already from the start of your career and you're so familiar with technology. For me, to be honest, it's something I'm still missing. I didn't study anything in technology, and I'm learning like crazy, but still I feel like to be able to engage in this strategic decision, you need to know what are you talking about, and you need to know it really well.
Learn.
Yeah.
So we should start at primary school?
Sure.
Yeah. What should we do?
We do.
What is the best thing? Should we learn kids how to do programming at the age of 5? Or give us a few examples, Bilim.
Yeah, in my opinion, of course, it is difficult to also expect too much at that age. But then, the life is not about solving a mathematical problem just at that moment. So you need to improve the way of creative thinking. So you can ask them actually, if you have a problem, I don't know, for example, we get students at TNO and we ask them, I mean, this is university level students, we ask them to make a bridge with gingerbread and spaghetti. So we can very well do something very easy like that with elementary school students. So it is fun, and you can, of course, you don't expect a great design maybe at that age, but then they know that
about it, right?
The work is fun and the environment is very welcoming. So this is definitely a must. And of course, now, if you look at, for example, at TNO, I mentioned that we have a diversity team, but it is not enough to just wait the natural course for it to happen. It's not going to happen on its own.
We have to be active, right?
You have to be active. If you have watched the Hidden Figures movie, that was 1960s, and if you just waited, nothing.
It's about 3 amazing mathematics women, Afro-American, who are showing. Yes, and because of them, the first man stood on the moon, right?
Yeah, and then there was no female restroom in the main lobby, so she had to run back in the rain. It was really dramatic, but it is real. I mean, I can give you similar examples, but we don't have time for that. What I can tell you, there's one more aspect we didn't mention. You can see that the women starting at STEM field or the companies, they don't go to the next level from junior to mid-year to senior fast enough.
Okay.
And then you see that we are losing them. So something is happening. They are frustrated.
Are men easily being promoted then?
I think it's also about what we have discussed before. You need to be really up for it. You need to explain to your manager, I want to be senior in a year.
You have to be more bold, right?
You have to be bold.
Do you think so too, Natasa?
Definitely. Because I think women are not using their own potential nowadays. And there are 2 things. One is the 2 reasons. One is internal, as we discussed. We are not playing on our strengths. We're trying to compensate for our weaknesses. And I think that is what needs to change. So recently, for example, there was a great opportunity in our company, and there is a colleague of mine, female colleague, who is one of the best in her job. And I said, just go and grab it. This is for you. And then you hear this thing like, yeah, but I'm not technical. And then we start, and I said, like, look at the men around you. Are they all technical? No, but they're grabbing that job. So, and we are holding ourselves back, and I see that many, many times. So we always think about what we cannot do instead of what we can do. And that's internal thing. And I think we can also change how we look at things. Like, for example, in my particular case, I usually think, okay, let's say there is a job of VP. And if I think, can I do it? I can always say to myself, absolutely yes, because you look at the men who are doing this job, both men and women, and you can say yes. There are a group of men who are really, really great in what they're doing, and I want to learn from them, right? There are a group of those men or women who are not so good, or they are good, let's say, and there are a group of those who are not really good, not to say suck. And then you can always say to yourself, you can say to yourself, I can do it equally bad, right? I can definitely do it better, but I can do it equally bad. And then you turn it around, and you start thinking, okay, I can get the job, I can do it, and I can learn from those great men out there, and I can learn a lot, and you can just strive. Otherwise, you miss opportunities. And that's an internal thing, but there is also external, and I think we talk about this today. It's about our cultures, society, companies. It's not a level playing field. Yeah. And I think that
you think women
change.
can achieve more to reach their full potential?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we should just keep going, keep trying. We should just not give up, because it's at the moment, and I hope in the future it will change. It's not a level playing field. Women are not reaching the glass ceiling or hitting glass ceiling way too soon, I think.
Is that also because of the work-life balance, Yolanda?
Is it because of the work-life balance?
Yeah, because maybe you have children at home. It's difficult for you to think you maybe can have a career as well.
In some countries, yeah.
Yeah, some countries.
And some countries allow themselves to.
Yes, there's lots of influences, I think, to it. So it's really difficult to analyze. But if I may sort of answer to your proposition, I think in a lot of cases we simply don't dare. And the best motto that I always use is Pippi Longstocking, if you know that little girl with the big horse that she could carry. She had this nice phrase, and I always use it. And it says, I never did this before, so I assume, or no, I suppose I can do it. Be a little bit more confident. It is really possible. It's known in vacancies. All the ladies sort of, they tick off sort of like the boxes like, not for me, I can't do that. They don't even apply.
Yeah.
Men will do that, so give it a go.
Yeah. What do you think of it, Moyra?
Yeah, and certain companies have looked at that and actually changed the job descriptions. I know about 3 years ago, if you looked at a job description at ASML, you knew that you had to be a rocket scientist to get the job. It was very clear in the job description. Now, if you're going in to lead a project there, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. There were a whole bunch of my neighbors that wanted to work there. They were very, very good at what they did, but they read the job descriptions and they thought, well, hell, that's not me. So the company changed even that external view to the world, and then you look at it and you realize, I have like a 60–70% of what they're asking, let me apply. And it does help. So you can help your recruiters change the way they portray things. So small things like that make a big, big difference. Yeah.
Lisa, what do you think?
Well, I was just thinking maybe about a stupid example of me sitting here. True story, my manager was asked to give a presentation in this event, and she's actually traveling in India, or supposed to travel. So she figured, let's ask Lisa, right? And I thought, okay, presentation, she can help me. I know the content of her topic, I can do that. So we came back to the organization, but no, the slots for presentations were already full. And then somebody said, oh, don't you want to be on the panel? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then,
of course.
And then like weeks after, I was like, what did I just say yes to? And also today I'm sitting there and I'm like, where the hell am I? But yeah, I love it, so.
You like it?
Yeah, it's really great, yeah. Okay. So I guess just say yes.
So we have time for some questions for our panel members. You also see their names up here if you forgot. My colleague Hilde has the catch box and we'll throw it to you so you can ask them anything you like.
Let's start with the easy one.
Yes, Carmen.
I'm wondering, because I also work for the university here, Technical University here in Eindhoven, so I'm wondering, you're all sharing teams or sharing departments. Do you see a change in just graduated females that enter your organization. Is it a little bit changing? I hope so.
So
I have to say that when I came to this country, I was absolutely stunned at finding a country that is 15, 20, even 30 years behind the rest of the world. I had portrayed, or I had seen the Netherlands as being a very egalitarian society. And my husband, if he were sitting here, would tell you how many times I went home almost in tears with the frustration. I came in with 15 years of experience, and I was essentially put back to the beginning of my career in many ways. And my heart goes out to all of you, you know, who grew up here and are still sitting in the room and will continue working. It is a formidable challenge, but other countries have gone before you and still work part-time. Some of them still get, you know, keep that perk. But it was shocking to me. And, you know, I have to say that I'm still here 6 years later. And I realize today that I'm going to have to hit my head on a lot of glass ceilings, but I'll just keep doing it. You know, with ladies like you, the thing that I found about your story that was the saddest, you're up at the top of that picture, but health in this country, and you have nothing but men underneath. And that, to me, I have 2 girls I'm bringing up here. That made me almost cry to see the contrast. Health is not men. Health is by women, for women, and we have to help them get there. But we do need to help them get there together, yeah.
So, another question.
Hi. You talked earlier, actually, about some of these things being internal, like that we don't want to go ask for it, and we feel like we have to be 100% there before we start applying for the job. And specifically here now, I mean, look at yourself, 5 people in the panel. I would presume only 2 of you are Dutch. And what can we do, really? We say we want to come out of this and we want to inspire our neighbors and the people next to it. But how can we somehow, as a society, change this mindset? I mean, I see it with now granted my husband's American, still saying, you know, you run like a girl. And it's these subtle things that I see everywhere around me. It's when I go to Basel school to drop off my kids, it's 80–90% the women that do it. It's I hear the people that are picking up the kids at 2:45 are mostly women. My son is one of only 2 people in that school that actually goes to the Basel school opvang every day. And sometimes I wonder, am I wrong to expect more to some? Is it really, how do we change that as a society, that we somehow expect the women to bear the brunt of all the caring, to feel weak, to feel, maybe some even feel pressured into taking the part-time job because that's what everybody before them and next to them and after them is somehow supposed to do? How do we change that perception?
Maybe I can.
Go ahead.
So I was reading a book. I definitely recommend "Moment of Lift" from Melinda Gates. So she's the wife of Bill Gates, and she gave a good example in that book, just similar to what you said. So Bill Gates brought the kids to school every day, and he walked with them to the classroom, and he started then seeing all the other fathers bring their kids too. So of course we are not Bill Gates, and maybe we'll not make the same impact, but definitely being a role model will help a lot with that. And so you are being here, you can actually say your husband to be actively involved in that. And I really appreciate the support of the men in my life. And yes, you said it is really important. We as women do that too. Hey, you're a girl, you should be a little bit more appropriate or clean or whatever. And I correct that every time. So it is frustrating, but I mean, yes, it is sometimes the elderly in your family is saying that, but sometimes it's your sister because it is just in your language. And no, you should stop saying that, and please correct it if someone is making the same mistake. That should change. Be a role model, and ask your husbands really to participate more in the children's life. And for example, we had a studiedag. I don't know why it is just suddenly decided by school. I was available one day, but I had taken the previous study day, and my husband was not available. I said, tell your colleagues, you are taking that day off because it's a study day. Because yes, I want to go to work too, and yes, it's a good example for my kids. They need to see it is balanced. And so we are going to do that one by one, but we need to be active and vocal about it. Just say it's not balanced. Just say your husbands, they need to be involved. And I'm sure, maybe we feel like it is on our shoulders, but I'm sure the managers, the male, I don't think they don't want to spend time with their kids. It's
on both our shoulders.
Yeah, so if it is part-time for us, but it should be part-time for them too. Why don't you take a day off and go play with your children? We should not take, oh, I have to do with the kids. Or yes, we take a day off, but we end up cleaning the house. So it is not really a mother day. So, but when the men take the papada, they go to play sports. So, so make it balanced.
I just wanted to add one thing about raising little children, and we are talking about raising our girls to be brave, to take risks. But I think it's equally important to raise our little boys to become aware of diversity. And I'm a mother of 2 boys, and I noticed when my older son started going to school, he would come home and say, like, Mommy, the girls are stupid, they cannot do this, they cannot do that. This happens, right? And they start raising this gender biases as of an early age. And I really realized how it's important to, through the real-life example, to give him examples where both boys and girls are equally capable of doing the same job. And I noticed that it really helped him starting seeing difference. And we need to think about this. It's not easy. We also talk to our boys, be brave, don't cry, boys do not cry. We do that as well. And what I think is important to be aware of this and try to correct yourself, like in the next instance. I catch myself doing that many times, but I realize how important it is that they really understand that it's okay for a boy to cry, and that's really important in raising the new generations.
So if you have any more questions for our panel members, we will start the... one short question then.
Yeah, I was just, when I hear all this, my husband is doing the same part of the job that I do at home, but for me, it really makes me happy to bring my kids to school in the morning. And I really have a wonderful job. I really love my job. I work at a hospital Maxima Medical Center, and I really love my job, and I love my kids, and I love it that I can combine those both things. So I really made it possible for myself to have both a job that I really admire, and I really am doing the things I like, and to take care of the kids. So I think it's also wonderful that this is possible in the Netherlands.
Yes.
So that's also something really, I think we should applaud for the Netherlands that it's possible to do that.
And just to be clear, when I was in the US, I fought nonstop to be allowed to go home, to have my daycare close to my work. So it, as you go through these phases in life, you fight for different things. I'm a fighter. I think that is very helpful. But I found that when I came here, that it was assumed that I would do it. And I will fight for my right to get up and do whatever the heck I want to do. And, to pick up where I want to be. And it was very disappointing to me that everybody assumed that my husband would not do the outings, the school outings. He's Dutch. I don't speak Dutch. Therefore, he had to go when the kids were little. As they get to 11 or 12, they understand me better. Their English is pretty good. So he did all these school outings, and they called him the mama. They all called him automatically. Every single one of those children would go, mama, mama, oh, And he just kept going, and after 3 years, they still could not see him as a man.
So thank you for all the questions. We will go to the break very shortly. So if you have any questions, save them for the break, and you can ask the panel members everything you like. But I think they deserve a very big applause first.
Thank you.